Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, I just wanted to share a few things about the so-called birthday that we are trained to celebrate. Yes, even your birthday is a hoax, and this also relates to the corporate calendar system and the birth certificate, where you are basically monetized. You're given a number and treated like cattle or any other domesticated animal that is farmed for profit. But according to the sky clock, your birthday is not what you think. So we are born into this world and handed a certificate with a fixed date. This fixed date of birth is part of the corporate calendar system, and you will need this document as you are exploited by the system, whether it's going to school, doctors, hospitals, sports, work, driver's license, passport, travel, contracts, marriage, taxes, mortgages, bank accounts. Basically, every formal process in the corporate system will require your birth certificate or some kind of identification, and you can only get an identification document if you have your birth certificate. You can only enter the corporate system, the matrix if you will, if you have your birth certificate. It's the biggest scam of all time, but wait, it's even worse. It's not just the birth certificate, it's the calendar system behind it. So we use the world standard Gregorian calendar, which is a solar calendar introduced by the Pope in about 1582, and it's used by almost every country in the world. Even Saudi Arabia switched to it in about 2016. But it doesn't take much to see that the months don't line up. December is obviously the name for the 10th month, not the 12th month, as I'm sure you know. November should be 9, October 8, September is 7. We know there's a problem with the calendar, it's obvious. So as good rabbit hole chasers, we proceed to dispute the first day of the year. Oh, it should be at the spring equinox or winter solstice, or better yet, the lunar calendar is the calendar we should be using. Or how about the lunisolar calendar? Or what about these other calendars? Which corporate calendar is the best? Well, how about none of the above? No, wait, none of the below. We want the one above, and strangely enough, it is the only calendar that is never discussed or presented to us in a practical way. We never hear about it. We never hear about the sky clock, nature's clock, God's clock, as opposed to the fixed corporate calendars. And actually, the name says it all. The word calendar comes from the Latin calendarium, which means ledger or account book for monthly interest payments. I never knew that. Calendar comes from the Latin calendarium, which means ledger or account book for monthly interest payments. It couldn't be more obvious. You see, in this corporate slave system, a calendar is needed to monetize you. Nature's sky clock changes and it flows like the rest of the natural world. The real timekeeping system of the world oscillates like a beautiful wave. But what the corporate calendars do is that they use the average of the natural sky clock over so many years, and they take that average and they use it as a fixed accounting system to enslave and monetize humans. Now, I'll explain this in more detail below, but what is important to note here is that the sky clock, nature's clock, is perfect. It is precise, it is easy for us that is, not for the slave system, and it flows through time like the tides, and it is definitely reliable. The sky clock is the source. Even the corporate calendar systems must reconcile with the actual sky clock above us. And this is why we get the leap years due to the so-called precession of the equinoxes. The sky clock doesn't need to reconcile anything. It is what it is. It moves or flows at its own exact, constant, and predictable pace. The corporate calendars just use the average of the sky clock's 19 or 76 year cycle, which comes out to 365 and a quarter days. And I'll explain this in a minute, and this is very important, by taking the average instead of the flowing reality, By using the corporate calendar, you are converting yourself into a fixed asset for the system, a robot, a machine, a slave, instead of a free, living, breathing, growing spiritual being. And the best way to understand the calendar hoax is to consider ocean tides. Nature's clock, time that is, it flows like the tides of the ocean. Now, imagine you're a boat captain. Well, you would want to know that the tides change, and not just from low to high. Every day, high tide and low tide shift. For instance, every day high tide changes by about 40 minutes, and that means that if high tide is at 8 o'clock today, tomorrow it will be at 8:43. So if you have a shallow harbor, you definitely better know the tides. And if we relate this to the calendar system, if you just ignore the fact that high tide changes by about 40 minutes every day, if you standardize the tides like you do the calendar, if you put a calendar over the tides, instead of going by the actual high tides on a given day, you would probably not have a boat for very long. You would run into the bottom because it might be low tide on that day. Just a week later, if you're trying to go out at 8 a.m., you're going to hit the bottom. And even a stopped clock is right twice a day, but again, using a corporate calendar is not good for us when you understand the analogy of the tides. We were given the sky clock as our true and perfect calendar. There's no reason to construct a fictional calendar unless your goal is to monetize humans. So this year, my family celebrated the new year on April 23rd because that was the date of the new moon in Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac or the first month of the year. And my birthday was even in August this year instead of September. And I'll explain the shifting birthday concept in a minute, but let me try to at least introduce the sky clock and the zodiac so that if you're not familiar with it, you can at least have a basic understanding of the concept and hopefully see how we have been tricked in yet another way in this matrix system. So we have the sun, moon, and stars above us, all spinning around the North Star. If we consider the stars to be the face of the clock, sort of like the numbers on our time clocks, the sun and moon would be similar to the hour and minute hands of a clock. The functioning's not the same as our clock, but it's a good enough analogy for this discussion. So the circle of stars, or the sky, is divided into 12 equal sections called the zodiac. And these sections are the 12 months of the year, like the 12 numbers on our clocks. We are going to look at the sky clock, the zodiac, as stationary for now so you can understand how it works. And again, the stars, specifically the zodiac, is the face of the clock. And the sun and moon move through the different zodiacs or months, and it takes a year to go through all 12, or 13 as you'll see in a minute. And the moon makes its circle and goes through all 12 zodiacs approximately every 29 and a half days, which is how we get the length of our month. And it takes the sun, though, 355 or 384 days to go through the entire zodiac, which marks the year. So about every 29 or 30 days, the new moon will occur in the next sign of the zodiac, with the sun marking the next month of the year. Again, every 29 and a half days, the moon will have covered about 390 degrees, and the sun will have traveled about 30 degrees. So this is how every new moon shifts into the next month of the year. And from our vantage point here on the ground, the sun zips through the sky much faster than the moon, but again, compared to the face of the clock, which is the background stars or the zodiac, the sun actually moves slower, sort of like an hour hand. It only moves about 1 degree per day, yet the moon moves about 13 degrees against the zodiac every day. And again, this is all because it is relative to the actual face of the clock, or the background fixed stars. We just see a bunch of stuff spinning around above us, but once you know how to tell time, it is the easiest thing in the world. So to calculate the length of the year, I started going back and looking at the historical dates of the new moon in Aries, which again I believe signals the new year, since it is the first sign of the zodiac and was accepted by many ancient cultures. So I looked up the exact sidereal sky charts for the new moon dates to confirm when it actually moved into Aries. And then I would count the number of days until the next new moon in Aries, which would mark the next year. To my surprise, the years were actually mostly around 355 days, but then there were some years that were 384 days. It turns out that the year is actually 12 months, but sometimes 13 months long. And let me explain. So as I confirmed all these dates, I started to recognize patterns. The most important pattern was that every 19 years, I found that there were 2 new moons in Aries. And I knew I heard of a 19-year pattern, so I looked it up, and it was the Metonic cycle, supposedly discovered in 432 BC by an astronomer named Meton. And it is a period of approximately 19 years when the phases of the moon recur on the same day of the year. Now this is significant because I was not using any calendar. I was simply going by the new moon when it occurred in Aries every year. And I did this from 1942 until 2025, and the patterns are the same. The true year, nature's year, is actually not constant. It is a 19-year pattern with 12 years that are 354 or 355 days or 12 months, and then 7 years that are 383 or 384 days or 13 months. It is not an every other year pattern. They oscillate in this pattern you might see here. It depends on where you start counting, but apparently the ancient Babylonians viewed years 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 19 as the long 13-month years of the Metonic cycle, which means that years 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, and 18 would be the short 12-month years. So again, the sun moves about 1 degree a day, so the sun and moon come together about every 29.5 days in a new sign of the zodiac, marking the next month. And just to let you know, the longer years of 13 months or 384 days are longer because in those years there will be 2 new moons in a same sign. It's not always Aries, but it happens 7 out of the 19 years. Obviously you see the 12 and 7 pattern, which is so prevalent in nature. We have the 12 zodiacs, the 12 tribes of Israel, 12 cell salts, 12 acupuncture meridians. We have the 7 days of the week, 7 planets, 7 musical notes, 7 chakras. I mean, it's obvious the 12 and 7 patterns occur all throughout the world, but the corporate calendar system, they don't want you to know the secrets of nature. And as you'll see in a moment, your so-called birthday will actually oscillate around your corporate calendar birthday by about 3 weeks. And what this means is that nature's year should be viewed in a more dynamic way, as a living, breathing year, just like the rest of nature. Yet the controllers want us to think that it is a dead, stagnant, numerical template that can be stamped on us like a barcode. In a period of 19 years, 12 of those years will have approximately 355 days, and 7 of those years will have about 384 days. It's not as easy to monetize people when they realize that they are not a number. They are free. Folks, we are unique spiritual beings, and this is evidenced by the unique pattern of stars and planets at our birth, and then the flowing nature of our subsequent birthdays. It is truly a remarkable system if we just pay attention. Knowing that, this year we celebrated my birthday according to nature's sky clock, and my birthday this year was in August, but according to my birth chart, or according to my birth certificate, my birthday should be in a month known to the slave masters as September. Now God gave me the birthday of Sun in Leo, Moon in Virgo, with my ascendant being Virgo as well, and this means that when I was born at 9:35 in the morning, and you really do need to know your exact birth time, which, by the way, they no longer put on birth certificates. Hint, hint. And when I was born, the constellation of Virgo was rising over the eastern horizon. The moon was in the same rising constellation of Virgo, and the sun was already overhead in the constellation of Leo. So to figure out my birthday this year, I had to look for the day when the sun would be in Leo and then the moon was in Virgo, with Virgo rising. And that just occurred in August. So let me give you a specific example to help you understand this. And I don't want to share my birthday, but let's say you were born on 9/11, September 11th, 2001, at the exact time when the plane allegedly hit the Twin Tower, around 8:45 a.m. And please don't be frustrated if it looks confusing. We just need to look at a few elements on this. So it turns out that if you were born on 9/11, 2001 at 8:45 in the morning, the ascendant is Virgo, and the sun is at about 24 degrees in Leo, and the moon is at about 3 degrees in Gemini. Gemini the twins, that is, Twin Towers. So for your first birthday, going by nature's calendar, you would look for a time in 2002 when the sun would be in Leo and the moon would be in Gemini, with Virgo rising, to be exact. And it turns out that if you were born on 9/11/2001 at 8:45 in the morning, your birthday in 2002 would be on September 2nd at about 9:45 a.m. Not September 11th, but September 2nd, 2002. For your second birthday, the date would be August 22nd, 2003 at about 10 a.m. In the year 2010, for instance, your birthday would be September 3rd at about 9:30. You see how it works. Compared to the corporate calendar, your birthday fluctuates around your original birth date, since the actual years are either 355 or 384 days. Time flows like the tides. And get this, you'll like this. For the crazy year of 2020, this year, well, this is exactly 19 years after 9/11/2001, so the 9/11/2001 birthday this year would again be exactly September 11th, 2020 at about the same time. And again, this is due to the 19-year Metonic cycle. Pretty incredible and interesting. Nature's God is truly amazing. Our minds and attention, they've just been hijacked by this system, so it's definitely time to wake up. And the most important part of all of this is that it is just as accurate. Actually, it has to be, because it is the benchmark for all calendars. It's just a matter of how they subdivide and count the months and years for the corporate calendar hoax, but you can use nature's system. It flows and oscillates like a wave or the ocean tide, but it is the benchmark. Or you can use the corporate banker system, which is fixed, like an industrial assembly line, like a machine, which is perfectly suited for monetizing domesticated human slaves. So anyways, I really just want to share information that I thought was interesting and useful. So please don't get frustrated if it's too much or unfamiliar. You can always study the zodiac and learn all of this stuff. And if you have strong spiritual or religious beliefs, this does not clash with them. Religions use certain new moons to determine specific holidays, so obviously everything depends on the only true calendar, and that is the sky clock. Heck, even if you think we live on a spinning ball Earth, the sky clock and the corporate calendar scam still applies. This should be one thing that everyone can agree on. And I didn't go into much detail about astrology, but just to let you know, there are several different house and Ayanamsha systems that you can use, but I think the differences are negligible, especially for these purposes. I personally use the whole sign house system and then the Fagan-Bradley Ayanamsha, because supposedly this is very close to the zodiac that was used by the Babylonian astrologers in the Hellenistic period, and Ayanamsha just refers to the difference between the sidereal and tropical zodiac due to the precession of the equinoxes. But again, the tropical zodiac system is just the sky frozen in time about 2,000 years ago, and it doesn't account for the precession of the equinoxes, or what I would say is just the true flow of time. The difference keeps expanding between the mainstream tropical zodiac and the true sidereal astrology by about 1 degree every 72 years. But if you use sidereal astrology, or better yet, just go outside and look at the stars for yourself, you will see that the tropical zodiac is off by an entire sign, or about 23 degrees from the true position of the sun, moon, and planets in the zodiac when you just go out and look at the stars. But what is most important to note is that you don't need any kind of leap year or Ayan Amsha values if you just look up and use the actual position of the sky clock. And this is what sidereal astrology does. So that's it. I just wanted to share this information with you. It may be a lot, it may be overwhelming at first, but it may not be earth-shattering for most people, but I like it because it is one more way to look at the matrix and appreciate what we have in nature. I know this coronation ceremony has been hard on many people. I call it the coronation. It's the corona. It's the coronation of this world system. And I empathize, and we try to help out with friends and family as much as we can here. But I must say that personally, this year has been great. I have carved out more freedom from the matrix. Some of my professional ties have been removed so that I have a little more freedom in that regard. My wife has used this time to start a business. She is an herbalist, and she practices traditional herbal medicine similar to the old schools of medicine that actually work, such as the Greek medicine, traditional Chinese, Ayurvedic, Tibetan, the indigenous systems. And interestingly enough, all of these ancient systems shared some very fundamental concepts. They were separated by many miles across oceans, but they shared fundamental concepts related to the 4 elements and the sky clock. And just to give you an idea of the importance of the stars when it comes to our health and well-being, and we're talking physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, there is the quote by Hippocrates, who states, "A physician without a knowledge of astrology has no right to call himself a physician." So we are definitely finding that to be the case. And the current reality is definitely a fictional reality. It is a reality that is programmed into humans by the media, Hollywood, and government. And we all know this is for control purposes, and it is extremely effective, yet it exists only in your mind. I simply like to point out ways to recognize these invisible shackles and cages that are put over top of us so that we can avoid them or see them for what they truly are and experience more freedom for ourselves and our families and loved ones. You can't change the system. It is what it is. It would be like trying to change the beliefs of a religion. This corporate system is sort of a religion, scientism, medical dictatorship. It is the system itself that is the problem. It can't be changed. So trying to change it doesn't make logical sense. Creating a new system makes sense, and by new system I mean no system of control over others. And like any other reality system, it is simply a mindset. You don't need government action or laws or the community organizing and social warrior garbage that we are fed in this propaganda schools and social media. Our goal should be to band together, like-minded individuals to survive the system while becoming more aware, more knowledgeable, wise, powerful, and strong, because in my opinion, eventually nature will ultimately smack down this artificial corporate control system, and we need to be ready. So that's it. I hope this was interesting, maybe entertaining, and useful, hopefully, to somebody else out there. One other person, that's all it takes. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Peace out, and adios.